The information provided by Trading Forex Price Action to you does not constitute personal financial advice. The information provided is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice.
Hey guys, this is a midweek analysis for May 4th, 2022. Okay, let's start off with the Euro-Yen pair.
Okay, this is a weekly chart. Let me run you by the setup I'm currently looking at. So there was a strong weekly long trade that formed right here. Last week, there was a relatively weak short trade that formed right here. And so going strictly from this weekly chart, the weekly bias is long. Or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot high before reaching this pivot low. And so at this point, I'm looking for lower confirmation on the lower time frames that can perhaps provide a mid-road long entry with this main target at this level right here. Okay, so let me show you what's happening on the lower time frames. Let's go over to the 1 hour chart. Okay, so on this 1 hour chart, initially there was strong 1 hour short strength confirmed from this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. As you can see, there was a breakout and immediate break back in, showing normal long strength. However, price came right back down to that pivot low where that normal long strength was created, and thus creating strong short strength. Now, as you guys know, since the overarching bias on this pair is long, I'm only willing to take long entries at this point, and so I did not take this short entry. And then about 12 hours later, there was actually confirmation of long strong strength from this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, with a breakout and immediate break back in, showing normal short strength. However, price coming right back up to stop out that pivot high where that normal short strength was created, and thus creating strong long strength. However, I did not enter the long entry at this point, for the risk reward was not all that great. For my stop loss will be at the correlating pivot low, which is right here. And so at the current moment, I'll only be willing to take a long entry if price gives a pullback right back down to the 136.68 levels, roughly around here. For that will give me about a 20 pip stop loss, again with the target at that weekly biases pivot high way above. Okay, and moreover, there are some things I'll be watching for in terms of aborts. So let's go over to the 4 hour chart. Alright, so on this 4 hour chart, you're on this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. As you can see, there was a breakout and immediate break back in, signaling normal 4 hour long strength. However, price can fall all the way back down to this pivot low right here. That will signal 4 hour strong short strength, and that would override the 1 hour long strength I was showing earlier. So in this case, if price does fall down to this level, I would abort that long entry I was talking about that I perhaps may enter. Okay, and moreover, since this week is the NFP week, if I do enter that long trade, and if price does go up, however, is within a 200 pip range from my entry level, so that would be at 136.68, roughly around here. If price is within these levels right here, that will be these levels right here, I will likely abort that long entry, just because there's a possibility that the volatility from the NFP release can stop out my long entry at the stop loss level at this pivot low right here. Okay, so we'll just see what happens with this long entry. Alright, let's go on to the euro dollar. Okay, this is a daily chart. Let me run you by the setup I'm currently looking at. So the last short trade that formed was right here. And the last long trade that formed was right here. Now going strictly from this daily strength, this long trade seems to have more strength than this short trade, which will mean the daily bias is long. Or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot high before reaching this pivot low. However, that said, on the weekly chart, as you guys know, there's overarching strong short strength, and so I would much rather take a short entry. And so I took a short entry a couple days back, roughly at these levels right here, but I already got out of this position. So let me go ahead and explain this setup to you. Let's go over to the 15-minute chart. Okay, so on Monday, immediately, there was 15-minute strong short confirmation from this trend line, from this pivot to this pivot right here. As you can see, there was a breakout, an immediate break back in, showing normal long strength. However, price came right back down to stop it out, showing strong short strength. However, at this point, I did not take this short entry. For the risk parameters for my preference was not up to par, but the stop loss will be at this pivot high right here, and the main target being right down here. However, luckily a couple hours later, I got a nice pullback up to these levels. And so I took a short entry at this 1.0558 levels right here, with the stop loss at this pivot high and its main target right here. Okay, and then for the following couple of days, as price went toward the target, there was actually a 4-hour confirmation of strong long strength that formed. And so at that point, I aborted this short entry, roughly at the 1.0500 levels around here. So let me show you that 4-hour long strength that formed. Let's go over to the 4-hour chart. Alright, so on this 4-hour chart, on this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. As you can see, there was a breakout, an immediate break back in. However, price came right back up to this pivot high right here to create strong 4-hour long strength. Now, there's two things I want to mention here, so let me get rid of these. Now, first of all, the trend line that was used from this pivot to this pivot right here, as you can see, they're not made from obvious pivots. However, like I explained in my course, as long as it's an obviously respected trend line, like this trend line, it can be used for trend line breakout confirmation. And now, moreover, I aborted this short entry roughly at the 0500 levels right here before that long strength was confirmed right here. Now, the reason being is because of this hammer-like candle right here. Now, I haven't explained this in the course yet, but these type of hammer-like candles in the opposing direction of your trade generally precede an opposing confirmation of strong strength, like in this case that formed right here. And so when this hammer formed, and then moreover we got normal short strength at this point confirmed right here, I aborted that short entry at the close of that breakback in candle right here. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. Alright, so what I'm looking at in terms of further trades for this daily setup is that, first of all, there is another possible confirmation of strong long strength from this trend line, from this pivot to this pivot right here. You can see there was a breakout, an immediate break back in. And so if price could come right back up to this pivot high, that would actually apply further 4-hour strong long strength. However, at this point, I'm not willing to take a long entry. Now, number one is because the 1-hour and 4-hour charts are constantly changing their bias, which is a sign of consolidating markets. And number two is because the weekly chart does have overarching short strength in it. And so ideally, I do want to take a short entry. So the only way I would trade this setup is, number one, if I could get some strong confirmation on the 4-hour and above of strong short strength, or if I could get a nice long entry with a nice pullback close to that daily long trade stop loss level, which is right here after the NFP is released. Okay, so again, I'm only looking for short entries at this point, and the only way I'll take a long entry is if I get a nice pullback to that stop loss level right here, and moreover only after the NFP is released.
Okay, so that's it for the midweek analysis. We're having really consolidating markets right now, and you could tell through the lower time frame confirmation forming in both directions, both on the euro yen and the euro dollar also. Okay, and in these type of consolidating markets, you want to trade in the direction of the higher time frame strength. So on the euro yen, that will be long, and the euro dollar will be short. And if you were going to trade against the overarching trend, you want to have a really great risk reward. So you want really nice pullbacks to that bias's stop loss level. Okay, so I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and thanks for watching, guys. Okay, bye.